to make sure that each member has a chance to ask questions, so everybody will have 5 minutes for the remarks and answers. Remember, when the little light comes on and it's yellow, you got 1 minute left. So I'll begin by recognizing myself for 5 minutes. Mr. Secretary, the Department recently issued a memo reducing the civilian personnel at the Office of Director of Operational Test and Evaluation by about 74% and reduced the budget by 80%. Now, everyone on this subcommittee can attest that I've been beating the drum for reductions in DoD personnel, civilian personnel, since I became a member of the committee, and that's a long time. In fact, I have a bill that would require the Department to reduce civilian staff by 15% based on merit. However, I think we need to be intentional and clear-eyed about the functions that we reduce. As you know, DOT&E was established by Congress in '83 to centralize and strengthen operational testing, ensure that weapon systems are rigorously evaluated for combat effectiveness, suitability, and to address deficiencies in oversight and standardization within the Department of Defense. And there's a lot of examples of DT&E catching flaws that would have catastrophic consequences for our military, including loss of life. One example is the M2, M3 Bradley, which was designed to transport troops, provides fire support. The Army approved a system touting the armor, firepower, and mobility. However, when the independent testing was done, it was found out the aluminum armor was not a good idea and was susceptible to failure. And early versions caught fire and burned. And so obviously we made changes and rectified that, and the Bradley has been a valuable part of our military ever since. But we share the same goals to create a more efficient, leaner DoD, but with things like Golden Dome coming along, we want to make sure that the technologies we pick are going to work and that we fund them accordingly. So I understand the reduction is seeking to remove duplicative functions. We're not interested in delays, and I know that that's really high on your list. However, a layer of independent testing is, I think, important. In light of that, with the reduction, how will you ensure that the military services tasked with testing and evaluating their own programs will not revert to past behavior which showed they would approve systems in order to meet operational needs or budget timelines? So with that, Mr. Secretary, see if we can have an answer to that.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the question. How we evaluated DOT&E was a reflection of the overall approach we take in the department, which is how efficiently do we operate? Where are the bottlenecks? We talk about the things you talk about every single day. How do we get how do we get systems, platforms, future capabilities in the hands of warfighters as quickly as possible? And so a review led by myself, the Deputy Secretary of Defense, our friends at DOGE who've worked with us have helped us look and identify places where we might find efficiencies. Now, I work, and my hands are directly in the middle of that, to ensure that as we seek those efficiencies and reduce those redundancies, we're not doing so in a way that undermines our capabilities or safety for warfighters in the future. DOT&E, after we got rid of a lot of the really low-hanging fruit of tens of billions of contracts and things that we've reduced, that were duplicative, that were completely wasteful, that were creating PowerPoint presentations that no one was looking at, you start to look at things like DOT&E, testing and evaluation, which in a headline sounds quite significant, and it can be in many ways. But when you ask the services, you ask the joint staff, you talk to the comptroller and CAPE, and you go across the other undersecretaries, there's a universal recognition that DOT&E's mission has bloated and expanded well beyond the scope of what it was supposed to be, and as a result was expanding by months, and sometimes even more than that, the amount of time it was taking for systems to actually make it in the hands of warfighters. So you still have services in other places doing that testing and evaluation. This remains in place at a right size. So we see it as a right sizing of DOT&E. So it still provides that oversight and ensures across the joint force we're recognizing the challenges, but it doesn't add unnecessary time. So we recognize why it was created. We want it to do its job, but not more than its job. And that's what we believe it's doing by reforming it.
Well, thank you for that answer. Obviously, as we expect new systems, new technologies to come online quickly, we want to make sure this committee that we're funding it properly and make sure that you can handle the volume in which that you're anticipating, especially with a new technology like Golden Dome, which you know, we still, as the ranking member pointed out, we still haven't seen a clear definition of what it is and what it's a strategic theater system, lower 48, Hawaii, Alaska, the rest of it, and how these layered systems are going to be put out there to defend the country and to make sure that we're not spending a lot of money unnecessarily. So testing and evaluation is going to be an important part of that. With that, I recognize Ms. McCullum.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Secretary, I plan to ask you some budget questions